game. Blouses.
Gallon chuck.
Disaster.
Spaghetti.
Disaster.
Well, I mean, I'm no doctor.
We now join America's most popular show, already in progress. Everybody loves
Mitch and Sean. You guys are the greatest duo.
Fantastic.
That team sure did suck last night. They just plain sucked. I've seen teams suck before, but they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
And welcome into another edition of the Post Game Pints Podcast. I'm Campbell, he's Gallo, and we're ready to start it off with the rapid fire. Of course, we are brought to you by LaBrosse Brewery, as we'll be talking about this beer in just a second. We're going to be drinking it first.
I'm drinking it now, and Sean, I'll say right off the bat, you know me, I love art. Look at these sleek new cans, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, nice little series coming out. They've got new ones coming out almost every week, another one this week. So check it out at labrosse.com. 133 LaBrosse in Point Claire. Check their hours because you go and pick up yourself as many as you want. Just make sure you mention the podcast when you go. You'll get a little discount. All right, rapid fire, Mitch. We got to start things off. There's still an undefeated team in the NFL. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can they go 16-0?
Well, I don't think the question is, can they go 16-0? Because, yes, they are currently undefeated, so they can. The question is, will they go 16-0? And I'm going to say no because of their upcoming schedule. I just see too many games that they could potentially lose. I'm not going to say they're going to lose all these games. I'm just saying they have some difficult opponents coming up. I look at Week 16 at Buffalo. Winning in Buffalo is definitely going to be challenging for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then I look at Week 16. They have a home game against Indianapolis. I look at the wild card situation right now in the AFC. The Indianapolis Colts in that game could very well be fighting for their playoff lives, so they should be a motivated team. And then in Week 17, they play at Cleveland. That's a road game against a divisional opponent, and also a team that at that time could be fighting for one of the final playoff positions in the AFC. So I just think there's too many hurdles ahead. They've had a couple close calls. Didn't love the way they looked in that game against Dallas a few Sundays ago. So I think they do have some holes. And you know what, Sean? I think it would be a good thing if they lose, because get it out of the way. Because this is not a team, I don't think, capable of going 16-0 and then running the table in the playoffs as well. So get the loss out of the way while you can.
All right, there's a couple things there, and I agree with you breaking down the schedule, Mitch, and I think that the Colts is going to be the most difficult one, even though it's in Pittsburgh. Home and away is kind of taken a weird turn this year with the coronavirus, but then the tougher teams are Cleveland and Buffalo, two teams that have so much to prove and have fallen flat on their face so many times. So I'm a little hesitant if that's going to be tough. They're good teams. Buffalo and Cleveland are very good teams. What I think you need to look at is what happens with Kansas City, because Kansas City only has one loss. And if the Steelers are 15-0 and they're playing Cleveland in that last week, they're going to have to go if Kansas City's right there. And they're going to have to figure it out. But if Kansas City loses or drops one game, there's going to be a bit of, maybe we'll take this as an extra bye week, because getting the number one seed in the NFL is huge this year because you're the only team that gets a bye. And if they have the time to get the rest, they're going to take it if they have a 2-game lead. I don't know if they'll start everybody in Week 17, even if they are 15-0. Of course, they want to go for the record and be one of the perfect teams that's happened in the NFL with the Patriots and the Dolphins. But I'm just curious what happens with Kansas City. I think the Indy game might be the toughest. I understand that Buffalo and Cleveland are good football teams, but they're just Buffalo and Cleveland, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean with Cleveland, and I think Cleveland has a lot to prove. I disagree with Buffalo. I think Buffalo has established themselves to a higher degree than Cleveland, where you can look at them and say, okay, they lead their division.
Well, did they establish themselves because the Patriots don't have Tom Brady anymore, or do they still need to prove that they're
Sean, you know what? I think, in that division, the AFC East, I think the Dolphins are more competitive than they've been for quite some time. The Patriots, they're still just a game under 500. It's not like they've completely fallen to the bottom of the standings. And I just look at Buffalo and I'm like, I like the different elements that they have. They have one of the top 10 most dynamic quarterbacks in the league. You got to love the acquisition of Diggs in the offseason. He's been connecting with Josh Allen. I think defensively they're pretty sound. And I know you want to diminish home field, and I know you're usually a big proponent of it. And I'm
not diminishing it. I'm just saying there's just a little bit of a difference this year. Just a little bit. It's not like it used to be.
Well, naturally, and that was to be expected. But as you know, you still look at those home road splits across the board, and it is still an advantage to play at home. So it's not like I'm saying, Sean, that they're going to lose to Buffalo and Cleveland. I'm just saying if I was a betting man and I'm looking at Buffalo, Indianapolis, and Cleveland, I would put a lot of money on them losing at least one of those 3 games.
Yeah, so anyways, I just think it's going to be interesting. It's a tough schedule, but it's only 5 games, and they just won 11 in a row. All right, let's continue. Let's move over to the NBA a little bit, Mitch. Is the NBA about to take control of the sports world? Hockey? Who knows? NFL? Dwindling down. Major League Baseball? It's not summer. And the NBA had a really good playoff and return to play. They've gotten their ducks in order. They're going to get ready for Christmas. Is the NBA really going to be a mega sport, just climbing the ranks, trying to – I don't know if anybody will get to the NFL when it comes to revenue, but the NBA is soaring right now.
Yeah, the NBA definitely is soaring. The NBA, Sean, they do such a great job at being in the news on a consistent basis during their offseason. Like, you look at the transactions that happen in the NBA, the player movement, the speculation, the way the top teams market themselves. Like, nationally, that sport is really strong. Now, I think on a night-to-night basis, outside of the top teams in the big markets, Philadelphia, Boston, Brooklyn being interesting this year, both teams in LA, maybe both teams or all 3 teams in Texas, I should say. Those teams get the spotlight. But then when you start going to the bottom tier teams, I don't know how much intrigue there is. Look,
I think you still have on the bottom teams, you're going to get the stars. And I think the stars are the drawing power. They have the NBA with these players that are on the court the whole time. You get to learn about the stars. And you can see it. Stars can carry small markets and bad teams until they turn.
Like, the stars aren't playing mostly in the small markets. Like, outside of Giannis in Milwaukee, the stars right now are in the big markets when you're looking at, Kevin Durant in Brooklyn or LeBron James in LA or the star power they currently have in Miami. Look, I'm with you. I think the NBA is going to get a lot of eyeballs on their product. They have to take advantage, though, and I'll preface this by saying, who knows what the NFL schedule is going to look like when they continue to have COVID cases and games move around. But the NBA has to make sure that nights that would be dark are filled with their product. So I'm looking at Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, and until the playoffs, Saturday night. Those are the nights that NBA can be like, we are the only product in town. And the NFL is always going to reign supreme, but the NBA can definitely take a lot of fans that maybe would be watching hockey and put those eyes on their product.
I think that they're going to just grab so many eyes in this winter. And if they get going in December and January and the NHL gets started in February, the NHL is just going to be chasing an uphill battle. Not like the NHL was in competition with the NBA because they coincide the same time frame, but they were never really in direct competition. Of course, there are dollars that they want, but at the same time, the NBA is going to put the NHL to dust. Major League Baseball, we're not sure what's really happening there. I know that there's growth in Major League Soccer, but it's going to be NFL, NBA, 1-2 in North America, no doubt about it. All right, Mitch, before we get into a great thing that we're going to do today, we're actually going to do a redraft of just 2 years ago, the 2018 NHL Draft, and I look forward to doing this with you, Mitch. But we got a game this weekend in the NFL. Your favorite team versus my favorite team. Packers and Eagles.
Yeah.
Can you put up a case that your Eagles are going to be competitive here?
Well, here's the big issue. I'm very angry with the Philadelphia Eagles. No, I can't make a case other than saying that they need this game more than Green Bay does. I can't make a case for Philadelphia. In 2 weeks from now, the Eagles take on the Saints. I don't think the Eagles are going to win that game, but I can make a case for them winning that game. In 3 weeks from now, they play the Cardinals. I can make a case for them winning that game. And they wrap up with 2 division games. Next week, it's a write-off. If they couldn't, handle business against some of the teams that they couldn't handle business against, there's no way they are going to put up much of a fight against Green Bay. The only thing I will say is that the Eagles have, as far as yards per carry, one of the most dynamic backs in the league in Miles Sanders. And the Green Bay Packers don't have a very good run defense. So I think in that game, the Eagles are going to run the ball a ton, something we didn't necessarily see on Monday night against Seattle. Now, is Green Bay going to stack the box and be ready for it? Probably. And when they do, can Carson Wentz come up and make some big plays? Probably not, which is why I'm very angry with the Eagles.
All right, so just a couple things, because you're right. The run defense isn't great, but the best counterattack to that that the Packers have is take a lead, and then they force the other team chasing the game. They have to throw. And you've seen, even with big leads, teams that start running in the third quarter, they get back into the game. And I'm not saying anything nobody doesn't know about the Packers, but it's just something that is 100% there. So on that front, I'm with you. Packers are a better team. They should win. They should come out victorious against the Eagles. They're in competition with the top seed. They'd like to get that number 1 seed, so it's very important for them. So there's no way I can coerce you into some sort of bet here. Post Game Pints bets, there'll be some consequences for the loser. You don't want to do anything here?
How about this? If the Packers win the game, I will start next podcast by chugging a pint of beer on the Post Game Pints podcast. But I want 2-to-1 odds. So I want you to pound 2 pints of beer if the Eagles win the game.
All right.
And then
I might. Okay. I'm in. I agree.
I think it'll make for a very interesting podcast to follow.
Okay. So here's the thing. If the Eagles win, I have to pound 2 pints to start the podcast, and
That's
you
right.
have to pound 1.
Yes.
Okay. How about we do that in 2 episodes?
Why 2 episodes?
Well, I'm just saying, why don't we just do that in 2 episodes so I can mentally prepare to watch you pound 1? Okay.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. 2 episodes from now.
In 2 episodes, one of us is going to be pinting a pint.
Okay.
Might be pinting 2. Now I'm not even talking properly. It doesn't really
And
matter.
Sean,
I like it. We're on. The bet is on.
Here's the official rule. So the intro to the podcast is 35 seconds, I believe.
I don't know. I wasn't counting. It's a good beat though.
Okay. That beginning portion, that 35 seconds, that is your time frame to pound the 2 pints.
Ooh. Oh, well, go Packers then. Go Packers. All right. The Post Game Pints Podcast, Campbell and Gallo, is brought to you by LaBrosse Brewery. And once again, mention the Post Game Pints Podcast when you go, and you'll get 10% off. Say hi to Alex, Catherine, Dan, Troy, anybody who's there. They have a great time. And we're doing the double IPA here. It's a new series, and I love the graphics on this. They've got another one coming out this week. You should check it out at labrosse.com. Go check it out. You can order online, pick up at the store at 133 LaBrosse. But man, Mitch, I am enjoying this thoroughly. And being a double IPA, this should be very interesting when we get into the redraft momentarily.
Yeah, it hits the spot very nicely. Obviously, this is considered a strong beer, a New England IPA. It's pretty damn hoppy. So if you're not into IPAs and not into hops, you might want to opt for something else if you go to La Brosse, because they do have plenty selection and different types of beer available. But if you are an IPA connoisseur and like sipping on something a little bit different, then by all means indulge, because I am really enjoying this beer.
And by the way, I know they have some great IPAs down the line that are coming. And I know that you and I, we've already kind of let the cat out of the bag. It will be the Angry Gallo Ale versus the Campbell Play-by-Play IPA coming this holiday season. So we'll have more details, but you got to check that out. All right, Mitch, you ready for the 2018 NHL Redraft?
I'm looking forward to this one, Sean.
Hold on. Before we start,
Yes.
hold on.
Yes.
Boy one, can you get me another one of these? Okay, thank you. I've got service.
I wish I had that kind of service at my call and beckon.
All right, so first things first, we got to figure out who's going to draft first. We're going to do the top 10. We're going to redo just the draft from 2 years ago. We're going to redo the draft, top 10 picks. Yes, that's the one where the Canadiens picked third overall and took Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Is he going to go third overall again between Mitch and I? Well, it's coming up next. Because, Mitch, we have to figure out who's going first and who's going second.
All right, how do you want to do this?
You want to flip a coin? You want to say that you really want the first pick? You want to, let me know.
I really want the first pick.
All right, but you have to figure out if I'm holding a 1 or a 2 in my hand. Ready?
You're number 1. Ah!
So I get to go first. All right. Because I don't know if I'm going to throw you for a loop, because I have my 10 picks that I would have put in order. I know you have yours, but as the draft goes, things change, right?
That's right.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
With the first overall pick, the Buffalo Sabres take Rasmus Dahlin. I am not changing that first overall pick. I thought about it. There's someone that I would take, and I really thought about it hard. But at the same time, I'm going with the number 1 in the 2018 NHL Redraft, Rasmus Dahlin.
All right, that leaves me with the number 2 pick in the draft, held by the Carolina Hurricanes. So with the second overall pick in the NHL draft, the Carolina Hurricanes select from the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League, Andrei Svechnikov.
See, I know you think differently than I do, where you take what you think the team would have picked at that time too, and I just take the guy that would have been available at that time and the perfect guy to fit that mold. I don't know if I would have taken Svechnikov there at number 2, because I was debating Dahlin with another guy. So the guy that I was debating at number 1 has fallen in the 2018 NHL Redraft here on the Post Game Pints Podcast, and the Montreal Canadiens will not take Jesperi Kotkaniemi. The Montreal Canadiens are picking Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes, I had him slotted as the number 3 selection in the draft as well.
I thought about having Buffalo take him number 1. I'm not kidding. I did. I think that he may be the better of the two, but I think maybe Rasmus Dahlin kind of has the full package.
Yeah, Rasmus Dahlin is going to turn into Victor Hedman. I realize the point totals are nice with Quinn Hughes, but Dahlin, I think, has more room to grow.
Yeah, in my head for the Canadiens here, I was thinking, well, they're getting Dahlin, Svechnikov, or Quinn Hughes at this point.
With the 4th pick in the 2018 draft, the Ottawa Senators are going to select from Boston University, Brady Tkachuk.
Exact same thing for me. I had the same thing, same pick, same location at number 4. Nothing's really changed. The only thing that's changed here, Mitch, is that Jesperi Kotkaniemi hasn't gone number 3 and Quinn Hughes has jumped.
That's right.
So I'm going to go to number 5, and that is the Arizona Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes, they will go in a bit of a different direction. They're still going to take a forward, but they're not going to go with the center ice position. At number 5, the Arizona Coyotes select Joel Farabee. And we
Funny,
saw a lot of him with the Canadiens facing Philadelphia Flyers in the first round of playoffs.
Funny, Sean, because I also had Joel Farabee ranked number 5 on my board. The number 6 pick belongs to the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings, with the 6th pick in the 2018 NHL Redraft, will select from Finland Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yeah, I think this is exactly where he would go to. I know that they ended up taking Philip Zadina at the time, and I know that a lot of Canadian fans wanted Philip Zadina, but Jesperi Kotkaniemi going to the Detroit Red Wings at number 6. You already know that he can play in the NHL. He's got that size. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to develop, even though he started early. I have no problem with Detroit taking Kotkaniemi at number 6. So I'm on number 7, and the Vancouver Canucks, they ended up taking Quinn Hughes, but now Quinn Hughes is gone. Dahlin is gone. So they're going to go with Adam Boqvist, who went to Chicago, but they're going to take Adam Boqvist, who I really like. This is a really good young defenseman. Already made the jump to the NHL, I think he's going to get a lot of minutes, probably in a top 4 role next year.
Yeah, and you had 2 Swedish defensemen going in the top 10 of that draft. Chicago ended up getting Boqvist, and I think there's still a lot of room for growth. I really like him, and also had him slotted at that spot. Sean, with the 8th pick, which belongs to Chicago, so they don't end up with Boqvist. Instead, the Chicago Blackhawks are going to draft from the Sioux Greyhounds of the Ontario Hockey League, Barrett Hayton.
Yeah, look, Barrett Hayton, incredible career with the World Juniors and Team Canada. And I think if you remember how well he played over the last 2 years, Team Canada, phenomenal. And he is a guy that he was, a lot of people were surprised he was taken almost right after Jesperi Kotkaniemi and as a second center iceman. And people were like, oh, well, they went, maybe they were the team that wanted Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the end. No, I think they always wanted Barrett Hayton, but they decided to go a different route, and Barrett Hayton drops to number 8 at Chicago. All right, number 9, the New York Rangers, Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Rangers select I'm doing it. Now that they know what they know now in 2020 and 2018, they're taking Alex Romanov.
Oh, Alex Romanov.
Alexander Romanov, continuing with a little bit of a Russian feel, European feel. Think about it. They didn't know, nobody knew anything about him in 2018, but what people know about him now, where he's going to be jumping into an NHL spot at this time, New York Rangers would take an Alex Romanov on their defense right now. And I would even say so a little bit ahead of Evan Bouchard, who's another guy that I could have taken. But I think that Romanov might have a little bit of an edge, even though he hasn't played a game yet and Bouchard has. I'm taking Romanov with the New York Rangers.
All right. And that leaves me with the final selection of the top 10, which belongs to the Edmonton Oilers. Sean, Edmonton is going to not look at needs, but they are going to look at taking the best player available on the board right now. I think you might be a little bit surprised by this pick, but, I've watched a lot of junior hockey, and I'm very high on him. His brother already had a cup of tea in the NHL. With the 10th pick in the draft, the Edmonton Oilers will select from the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League, Liam Foudy.
Went Liam Foudy. I had him on my list. He wasn't the guy that I was going to go here. One of the guys that I had, Ty Delladrea. And I also was looking at, I thought you were going to go Oliver Wahlstrom.
I like Oliver Wahlstrom. The other 2 players I obviously like at this point. They were high picks, though. Zadina, I still think he is going to be able to score some goals in this league. Might be more of a specialist type of player, one-dimensional, but I think he can score. And Noah Dobson as well, I think, would have been a fine selection at number 10. But I'm very high on Liam Foudy. I think he has a heck of a career ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious with the Dobson and the Evan Bouchard versus Romanov. I think we both kind of know where Quinn Hughes and Rasmus Dahlin are going, just on the defense front. So when I chose Romanov, maybe it's because I'm in the Montreal market, and I went ahead of an Evan Bouchard, who I think is going to be a really good defenseman, and Noah Dobson too with the Islanders. I just kind of hesitated a little bit. I went with Romanoff, and I now just in my head, I'm curious how he does in comparison to theirs. And I know we've done the redraft before, Mitch. It's just interesting doing a redraft only 2 years later. So
yeah,
just
because we don't have the benefit of hindsight as much as we had with some of the other drafts.
All right, so just to recap the 2018 NHL Redraft here on the Post Game Pints Podcast, Campbell and Gallo. Nothing really changes with the first two picks. Rasmus Dahlin and Svechnikov go to Buffalo and Carolina, but the Canadiens, they get Quinn Hughes at number 3. Brady Tkachuk, he stays with the Ottawa Senators at number 5. Joel Farabee, he lands in Arizona. Jesperi Kotkaniemi with the Detroit Red Wings. I don't know if he would have started as a rookie. And then Adam Boqvist lands with Vancouver. Chicago, they get Barrett Hayton. Alexander Romanov goes from the second round to a top 10 pick at number 9 to the New York Rangers. And then Liam Foudy at number 10 to the Edmonton Oilers. That is your 2018 NHL Redraft. All right, Mitch, you ready for a pop? I guess I have to be ready for the pop quiz. It's your turn to give me one.
Are you ready for a pop quiz?
That's a no for those listening on SoundCloud, iTunes,
All right.
Google Play.
Campbell, here's your pop quiz question. In honor of the 2018 draft, the one that we just redrafted for, I would like to know the last 5 Swedish-born players selected in the top 3 of the NHL draft.
The last 5 Swedish-born players drafted in the top 3. Dahlin.
Dahlin is one of the 5.
Does it go as far back as, is it 2010 with Hedman?
Hedman is number 2.
Okay, so there's one before Hedman, and there's
3
in the
number
middle.
2. Dahlin was 1. Hedman was 2.
Oh, so now it's before that. Okay. So, sorry, I was thinking 5, 1. I told you I wasn't ready. So it's Matt's in this list?
Who?
Matt's Sundin?
Matt Sundin, number 5.
Okay, so now I have to go from Sundin after that, right?
Yes.
Marcus, Daniel and Henrik.
You got the 5 answers. And Sean, interestingly enough,
yeah,
in the history,
I knew that. That was easy. That was easy. Boom. Yeah. Boom.
Impressive. But what's interesting to note here, in the history of the NHL draft, only 5 players from Sweden all time have been drafted in the top 3.
By the way, I didn't give you one wrong answer.
No, you did not.
Not one wrong answer, and that could be the name of the podcast. But I just opened up a beer. Cheers, Mitch. That was a good pop quiz. And I liked it because I got it right.
I'm surprised you jumped all the way back to Sundin. I thought you would have been thinking more recent drafts when I said 5.
Well, no, 1, I know how you think. And 2, I was trying to get the other end. Like, I knew Dahlin was 1, and I was trying to get the number 5 so I could know a date that I could work back from. So,
can you believe that there have not been more Swedish players at the top of the draft?
In the top 3, there's so many great Swedish players that you could talk about that were drafted late.
It's crazy.
I think about Marcus Naslund. That guy easily could have been the top of his draft. I think about Lidstrom. Hey, the Sedins, Henrik Zetterberg.
Yeah.
And he should have been the first overall pick of that draft.
Alfredsson.
Yeah. These are all guys that were generational players.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Even if you look at
Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, even on the goaltending front. Absolutely, Henrik Lundqvist should have been a very high selection. One of the all-time greats in the NHL.
All right. Well, that is hey, I really enjoyed the redraft. We're going to have to do this. And I really want to get your comments below about the redraft. Jesperi Kotkaniemi dropping from 3 to 6. If you were to do the draft now, where would you put Jesperi Kotkaniemi if you were to redraft just 2 years later in 2020 from the 2018 NHL Redraft? Mitch?
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
That's it for the Post Game Pints Podcast. Campbell Gallo, brought to you by La Brosse Brewery and Trent to Dewey Entertainment. I didn't say that in passing.
All right, so we'll stop it here, and I'll create a new thing.
All right, give me just 5 minutes. I got to put my kids to bed.
Sure.
Dave, what do you got? You got comedy going on in the background too?
Yeah, got a lot of stuff going on.
Hi, bye.
Hey.
Back to bed.
Well, how's that for your entertainment value?
They've done their job very, very well.
Come on.
VBF.